Hello, everyone. What's going on, y'all? Cyber here. You already know what I'm doing. I'm very calm and relaxed. And happy Halloween to you and yours. And in the spirit of Halloween, me being a writer and all, I thought I would actually share you a story for one of my favorite games, Silent Hill 2. So, here we are. Silent Hill 2. Letter from Silent Heaven. From the moment it happened, everything was dark for me. I'm such a mess now. Everything has really gone to shit in my life. I don't know how I've managed to hold down my job, because there are many times where I don't even bother getting out of bed in the morning. The alarm will go off, and I'll just ignore it. It's not that I'm tired. Not at all. Usually I just wake up and just stare at the ceiling, thinking about nothing because my mind is not in the groove. I suppose I do still have a job because my boss is quite a sympathetic person. But it's been 3 years now, and I'm pretty sure even her patience is wearing thin. God knows, I know what my coworkers think. It's getting to the point now where they don't even bother waiting for me to leave when they ask each other why I just can't get over it already. Well, fuck them. None of them knows what this is like. It's not just work either. I don't speak to my friends anymore. My father actually tried to be a father to me when Mary's illness started to take a toll on me. Why he did this, I don't know. But after she died, his visits and phone calls became less frequent in a hurry. I don't know what made him bother. We were never close in my childhood, or even through most of my adult life. He almost didn't even make our wedding. But when she really got bad, even Dad's presence was welcome. It was human contact. When I felt like I was becoming more and more convinced that I was losing that capability. For a good long while, I felt my only friend was the bottle. After she died, I got a lot closer and closer to the bottle. Thankfully, I was able to stop, because even I saw where that was leading. Nevertheless, life was still a big drag to me. I existed. My body functioned. My lungs breathed. My heart beat. I still ate. Still pissed and shit. My brain's more basic functions were just fine. But my soul was gone. It left when she died. They say your soul goes to heaven when you die. But my soul didn't wait for me to die. The longer it went on, the worse I felt. Every new day had that dark feeling setting in, just another inch or two deeper in my heart. I guess everything changed when I got that letter. But I like to think it started that night before. I remember sitting in my bedroom. I still had the king bed. It's been years since I really shared it with anyone, but I never bothered getting one smaller. I sat on the edge of the bed with a shoebox in my hand. In the shoebox was a Colt revolver with a single speed reloader. 6 large .357 bullets. I had a slight fascination with handguns in my youth. And I fed this fascination thanks to my Uncle Steven, a career police officer. He must have had a dozen different weapons. Rifles, a pair of shotguns, an old Revolutionary War musket in working condition, and several handguns. The Colt was always my favorite, and he gave this to me as a wedding gift. I kept this in the shoebox ever since. I don't think that I ever taken it out until the night before I got the letter. I held the Colt in my hands. It was still as shiny as the day my uncle gave it to me. The mechanisms were still pretty well cleaned and lubricated. Surprising considering how long it's been neglected. I toyed with the gun, dry firing it a few times. Then I slowly removed a bullet from the speed reloader and chambered it. I closed the chamber and spun it, like I was playing a game of Russian roulette. I was laughing. Had anyone been there, they thought I certainly would have jumped off the deep end. Maybe I really did. Because then I put the barrel in my mouth. I stared at the ceiling and I just looped my finger around the trigger. I closed my eyes and I saw her face again. Just like in the photo I still carry in my wallet. The picture of her in the pink sweater. It's her. It's Mary. Still smiling at me. God, I love her. I miss her so much. It was the first time in a good long while that I had actually thought so clearly about her. And the grief hammered me like waves, strong and potent even after 3 years. I took the gun out of my mouth, dropping it to the floor at my feet. Then I buried my face in my hands and I cried. I cried like a goddamn baby. 3 years it's been, and yet she still haunts me. My body was racked with sobs, and I felt the strength drain out of me. I fell back onto the bed, weeping tears from my eyes and dripping snot from my nose. I made no attempt to wipe either way. I just laid there crying until I finally passed out. It was light when I woke up, still in my clothes. Thank God I didn't have to work this morning, because I really didn't think I was going to stay awake long. I sat up in bed, and I wiped the dry snot from my face. I went to the bathroom and took a long piss, and tried not to look at my reflection in the mirror as I went back to the bedroom. I picked the cult up off the ground and stared at it, remembering how close I had came to using it last night. It was a game of Russian roulette after all. Just with one player. I didn't know if pulling the trigger would have ended my life. The odds were against it. But I still was quite curious. I pointed the gun towards the ceiling and pulled the trigger. The hammer struck. But instead of a thundering roar, all I heard was the sound of it hitting an empty chamber. No worries then. Without even looking at it again, I placed the gun back in the shoebox and put it back on top of the shelf in my closet. It's been sitting there ever since we moved there. I started walking to the kitchen to get a bite to eat when I heard a very loud bang at the front door. Very loud. And it wasn't like somebody hitting the door with their hand or even with a stick. It was more like somebody drove their car into it. The house reverberated and shuddered with the impact. It would have scared the living shit out of anyone. And with me and my hair-thin nerves, well, I know for sure I would have pissed my pants if I had already relieved myself. I ran to the door, expecting to see it caved in, or even knocked off its hinges. But when I got to it, I didn't see any signs of damage. I looked around. I looked outside the small window, but I didn't see nothing, except the stairs leading up to the small porch, enough that a car could have hit it, certainly not with the force I just heard. Gingerly, I unlocked the door and pulled it open. It moved with its normal fluidity, and the front door showed no damage, not even a slight sign of impact. It was very confusing. Then I saw the envelope on the ground, lying face down on the welcome mat. I reached down and grabbed it, then I shut the door. I got all the way to the kitchen and had a glass of orange juice in my hand before I even looked at the thing. It was a rather fancy envelope and small, much like the kind Mary and I used to mail our wedding invitations. It was a creamy white and embossed with floral designs. I turned the envelope over in my hand and looked at the front. What I saw absolutely blew my mind like nothing I had seen before. Mary. My wife's name. My heart slammed against my chest and my breathing was quick. Mary! The envelope had no return address. I slid my finger under the seal and nearly ripped the flap off with the force. There was a piece of paper inside, folded into quarters. I pulled it out and unfolded it. It was a letter. And it wasn't written to Mary at all. Maybe it was. Maybe if it was, things would be very different right now. But it was not. It was Mary who wrote this letter, and it was written to me. In my restless dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill. You promised you would take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone here now, in our special place, waiting for you. Waiting for you? Waiting for me? No fucking way, Jose. I couldn't believe this. I cannot believe this. Mary is dead. How can she write me a letter? What the hell was all this about? Never once did it occur to me that somebody could be playing a cruel joke on me. Not once. I knew right away that this was her handwriting and her words. This seemed terribly familiar for whatever reason. But there was no mistaking this. In my head, my dead wife wrote me a letter. Reason totally abandoned me. I guess that finally pulled the final guitar string that was in my sanity. A little too hard, and I could almost hear that terrible plucking sound as if it snapped. The feeling was a sudden and strong. It was like having a good drunk, really. I had made up my shattering mind to go there. God only knows why. But she said it was there. She said she was there. It was the first dim ray of hope I had in a far too long. There's no way I could ignore it. It was an incredible feeling. I didn't make any special preparations for the trip. Just a few sodas in the cooler and a map of the town. I kept from our last visit. Right before she started getting really bad. Not even 20 minutes later, I was in my old Dodge at the Interstate 95 junction, heading towards northwest Augusta, Maine. Once I was a bit north of Augusta, I would take SR 201, which would lead to the western part of Maine. Western Maine had many lakes, the most beautiful which was Toluca Lake. Around Toluca Lake was the small resort town of Silent Hill, our special place. Mary was there. I know it. The letter said so. Thank you all for watching this video. If you want to hear any more stories, or you want to hear more of my written work, or do you just want to hear anything in particular, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to tell you a story. Till then, this is Cyber, and happy Halloween.